When people speak about their favourite martial artists, usually they talk about the same names over and over again. And that's fine, obviously it's for a reason. I think I'm more of a fan for the more obscure names out there. Hong Kong martial arts films, people usually quote the same names over and over again. Jackie Chan and so on. My favourite performer in those films was always Sammo Hung. Why? Because he's not your stereotypical sort of hero. He doesn't fit the stereotypical mould. Martial artists from a sporting point of view, I always favoured people like Satoku Shinashi, even in recent times people like Mei Yamaguchi. But I would have to say that one of my all-time favourite martial artists is the great Bas Rutten. Now I think I was first introduced to Bas's work through videos on the old file sharing program LimeWire. Well, I think it was LimeWire at the time. It had a few names, maybe Kazaa. And it was through the old Japanese pancrase videos that people would upload that I discovered Bas Rutten. And I thought, wow, this guy's cool. Looked into it some more, came across some of his training videos. And that's where you really started to see his charisma and how enjoyable he was to watch, not only with fighting skills, but also with his personality. Kickboxer, mixed martial artist, and wrestler. He was 3-time king of pancrase. Now, for those unfamiliar with what pancrase was a mixed martial arts competition back in the early 90s, or early to mid 90s. The rules were a little bit different to what we know now with MMA sports. Closed fists weren't allowed, heavy emphasis on grappling, and all this stuff took place in an actual ring. Bas was also a UFC heavyweight champion, also being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. Something that he was well known for was the old liver shot. Now you see a lot of this in his pancrase videos. Guys just go down like a sack of potatoes, it's just like bang. He was good at delivering this with both his hands and his feet. As a young boy growing up in the Netherlands, Bas himself had said he was quite frail and he had eczema and asthma. So with his eczema he was always wearing long sleeves. I think he mentioned that he used to wear gloves a lot as well. As a child, over time he developed an interest in martial arts. And it wasn't until he was about 12 or so that he snuck into a movie theatre to watch Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. And from there, obviously, his journey had begun. He first took up Taekwondo, and being a bit of a brawler, ended up in a fight, of which he had taken on the local bully. Excelling with his art, later on he moved into Kyokushin karate as well. During his 20s, he was working as a bouncer. It was also during this time that he began his kickboxing career. By 1993, he was scouted to go to Japan to compete in the pancrase. Bas's pancrase career went from about 1993 to I think 1997. Now if you're not familiar with pancrase and Bas's work with pancrase, I highly recommend looking up some of these fights, they're great. Some really interesting things going on in these fights, I mean just check them out. After Bas's pancrase career, he was signed to the Ultimate Fighting Championship in 1998. Bas's body had taken quite a lot of damage and I think he blew out his knee amongst many other injuries. So doctor's orders suggested it was time to retire. El Guapo, as his nickname is, Spanish for the handsome one, Bas had also been a commentator for various fights. You've seen him on TV, The King of Queens, he's been in a few things with Kevin James, a family man and an excellent teacher. 5th degree black belt in Kyokushin karate, 2nd degree black belt in Shintai karate, 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo. An established kickboxer, Muay Thai kickboxer, wrestling, boxing, shoot boxing, and of course a practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. His mixed martial arts record was 33 fights with 28 wins. 12 knockouts, 13 submissions, a very well-rounded career. Like I said, one of my all-time favourite martial artists. If you were to ask me off the top of my head who some of my favourite martial artists were, Bas Rutten is definitely on the list. In fact, ironically, I even remember when I first started martial arts myself, it was kind of a warehouse just around the corner. I think it was called Bas Seafoods or Bas Vegetables or something like that. And whenever I'd go past there, seeing the name Bas always triggered Bas Rutten in my head, and obviously all the things that I'd seen him do previous to myself signing up to martial arts. So, if you're not familiar with Bas, which I'm sure you are if you're on a martial arts channel, check him out. There's no way you'd be disappointed.